Paul has been carnivore for 3 months. At home, life is simple. Steak, eggs, burger patties, salt, water, no drama. His belt has moved 1 notch in the right direction, which is basically a standing ovation from his waistline. His knees are not screaming every time he gets out of the chair. For the first time in years, Paul feels like his body is no longer fighting him. Then his phone buzzes. Family reunion this Saturday. And just like that, Paul's peace leaves the building. Because Paul knows what's waiting. Mac and cheese, potato salad, dinner rolls, sweet tea, peach cobbler, banana pudding, and at least 3 relatives who believe just 1 bite is a legally binding family contract. Paul stares at the invitation like it's a medical diagnosis. He is not afraid of meat. He is not afraid of fasting. But he is afraid of becoming that guy. The guy everybody whispers about near the dessert table. Is Paul still doing that meat thing? Does he eat vegetables yet? Is he okay? Should we call someone? Being carnivore at home is one thing. Being carnivore in a sugar-saturated social world is a different animal. And unfortunately, that animal is usually covered in frosting. So stay with me, because Paul is about to show us how to protect metabolic health without being rude, weird, preachy, isolated, or socially awkward. Food is not just food. Food is memory. Food is culture. Food is comfort. Food is family. So when Paul says, no thank you, he thinks he is declining cake. But his aunt may hear, I reject your love, your effort, your childhood memories, and possibly the entire family tree. That is why this is hard. Paul is not just managing food. He is managing belonging. Humans are wired to stay connected to the group. Today, the tribe may just be your family at a cookout, but your nervous system did not get the software update. So Paul needs a plan, not just a food plan, a social plan. Before he leaves the house, Paul makes a decision. He does not say, I'll try to be good. That is not a plan. That is a wish wearing sneakers. Instead, he says, I am someone who protects my health without making other people feel bad about their choices. That sentence changes everything. Paul's job is not to convert the reunion. His job is not to give a TED talk next to the potato salad. His job is to stay aligned with his health and still love his people. So Paul eats before he goes. Just enough protein and fat so he does not walk into the reunion hungry enough to negotiate with cobbler. Because hunger plus social pressure is how good intentions go missing. Then Paul brings something he can eat. A tray of grilled wings. No sugary sauce. No mystery glaze. No family secret recipe that secretly contains brown sugar, honey, syrup, and emotional manipulation. Just wings. Simple. When Paul arrives, the dessert table is glowing like a casino sign. His cousin waves a roll at him and says, Paul, you still doing that no-carb thing? Paul feels the old pressure rise. He wants to over-explain. He wants to talk about insulin, inflammation, triglycerides, fasting glucose, and why the food pyramid belongs in a museum next to the rotary phone. But he remembers his line. He smiles and says, Yep, I feel better eating this way, so I'm keeping it simple today. That is it. No apology, no lecture, no nutritional hostage situation. Just calm confidence. Then Aunt Denise appears with peach cobbler. And Aunt Denise does not play. She says, Baby, I made this myself. You're not even going to have one little bite? Now Paul is in the danger zone. Because this is not just cobbler. This is emotional cobbler. This is legacy cobbler. This is, I change your diapers, and now you won't eat my dessert cobbler. So Paul honors the person without surrendering his health. He says, Aunt Denise, that looks amazing, and I appreciate you making it. I'm keeping my food simple today, but I love you. Now that is grown man metabolic maturity. He did not insult the food. He did not call it poison. He protected the relationship and protected his body. And yes, I said sweet spot in a carnivore video. We are all going to survive. But the pressure is not over. His brother says, Man, you're no fun anymore. Paul laughs and says, I'm still fun. I just don't need frosting to prove it. Everybody laughs. the tension breaks. That is the power of humor. Humor lets you hold your boundary without building a wall. Later, someone asked, "Isn't all that meat bad for you?" This is where many people become the preacher. They turn dinner into a courtroom. They defend beef like it is on trial for crimes against humanity. But Paul has learned something. People do not change when they feel attacked. They change when they feel safe enough to get curious. So Paul says, I used to wonder about that too. For me, my symptoms and markers improved. So I'm paying attention to results. Notice what he did. He made it personal. He did not attack anyone's plate. He stayed calm. Confidence is quieter than insecurity. The confident person simply lives. Now, Paul still has a moment. He walks past the dessert table. The banana pudding looks at him. He looks at the banana pudding. For a second, the pudding speaks fluent temptation. And Paul asks himself 4 questions. Does this food serve me? Will this trigger cravings? Can I return to my plan immediately? Am I choosing this from freedom or from pressure? That last question wakes him up. Paul realizes he does not actually want the pudding. He wants to avoid feeling different. And that is the root cause. Sometimes it is not hunger. Sometimes it is fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of being judged. Fear of not belonging. So Paul walks away. Not angry, not deprived, not superior, just clear. He grabs his wings, sits with his family, laughs at old stories, and enjoys their reunion. And something surprising happens. Nobody falls apart. The family keeps eating. The music keeps playing. The world does not end because Paul skipped cobbler. In fact, a cousin quietly comes over and says, "Man, I've been trying to cut back on sugar too. How did you get started?" That is how influence often works. Not by preaching, by living. Your plate can be a testimony without becoming a weapon. By the end of the night, Paul realizes something powerful. He does not have to choose between metabolic health and social connection. He can love his family without eating everything they cook. He can celebrate without cake. He can be different without being difficult. He can belong without betraying his body. And that is the lesson. If you are the only carnivore, keto, or low-carb person at the table, you do not need to argue. You do not need to apologize. You do not need to convert the whole family before dessert. You simply need to be calm, kind, prepared, and clear. Eat before you go if needed. Bring something you can eat. Use short personal statements. Honor the cook. Do not attack other people's plates. Use humor when appropriate. And decide who you are before the pressure arrives. Because freedom is not eating everything. Freedom is being able to choose without being controlled. So the next time someone says, "Just one bite," smile and remember Paul. You are not being difficult. You are being deliberate. You are not rejecting people. You are protecting your health. And sometimes the strongest metabolic decision you make is simply sitting at the table, enjoying the people, skipping the sugar, eating your meat, and going home proud. And if this helped you, like this video, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what is the best response when someone pressures you to eat food you do not want? Because the goal is not just to eat differently. The goal is to live differently and maybe become the calmest person at the table, even when the cake starts flirting with you.